regards to who I am, I'm Joel White, and as you hear tonight, is the launch of the brand Rewired for Men. A bit of background, really, from my own sort of personal professional journey. I've been in the health and wellbeing sector for over 10 years. A lot of that, up till recently, has been working in various employment roles with NHS contracts, third sector, charities throughout Greater Manchester. And alongside that, I've been building up my own professional toolkit, a therapeutic toolkit, whatever phrase you want to give it. People call it different names. And it's been really focused around finding a better way of working with individuals one to one. And along that journey over those 10 years, there's been myself becoming qualified as a counsellor, bit of CBT, EMDR, motivational interviewing, NLP, trauma-informed ways of working, and more recently, something called becoming a Reset It specialist. What all that has accumulated in is what we're here to hear about tonight, which is Rewired for Men, and how that has really led to the passion of me putting that into practice every single day, of making that real difference to the lives of men, particularly men aged over 30. And I'll talk more into that as we get into the launch event of why we're here tonight. The purpose of this event is to introduce you to obviously the transformative program that are specifically designed for men over 30, empowering them to rewire those limiting mental stories, the things that have been holding them back. And more importantly, bringing them into that phase of emotional freedom. It's an incredible experience that I'm sure we've all experienced at times where we feel emotionally free, we're in our mojo, whatever phrase you want to call it, and the benefits that has and richness that has brought to our lives. And wouldn't it be great if that could be a more day-to-day occurrence than fleeting moments of clarity? And very much, that's what a lot of Rewired for Men is about. I guess a really good starting point of what I want to do with that is show a video which kind of gives you an overview of what Rewired for Men is about. So just give me a minute just to swap screens and set that up. All the videos I'll show you tonight, they're very short, but they'll really capture what it's about. As they say, picture captures 1,000 words from that degree. So just give me a minute just to share screen and we can get going. And again, I'm happy listening to taking a couple of comments or questions after each video. It's entirely up to you from that degree how you want to do it.
Rewired for Men, a new initiative specifically designed for men who find themselves being overwhelmed or feeling stuck. This program empowers men to navigate their mental health journeys without the pressure to share personal problems. Rewired for Men guarantees a transformative path to lasting change. Discover a powerful approach designed for deep, sustainable shifts. Freedom from unhelpful stories. Release old narratives that no longer serve you permanently. Change without rehashing the past. No need to discuss personal history. Experience transformation without the talking. Master a lifelong evidence-based approach. Gain a practical method you can rely on in any situation. Make choices with clarity and intention. Base decisions on conscious thought, moving beyond emotional reactivity. Live with enhanced presence and clarity. Experience life more fully, grounded in the present moment. For more information or to book a virtual coffee, go to our website www.rewiredformen.com.
So that gives you a bit of a flavour about where Rewired for Men comes from. And I'm sure at times when you've watched or have just played that, as well as people are going to watch this afterwards, can really resonate with where they're at on their journeys and what this program can do to bring that forward from that perspective. If anything, what I want to move into is how did I get to this point in my life in 40 odd years of why I've been here on this earth, on this planet? And all I can say to that is, and again, some of you are slightly aware of my story, some of you aren't, that this journey of where I find myself today began back in early 2000s, really. And what I became very aware of was myself and other people around me of early 20s, that things started to bubble up from the under the surface. We all, as men, have things that have gone on for us in our childhood and early life of schooling, and we kind of just get distracted from it, and we're still trying to find out who we are. It always seems when we come out of university where life starts to get a bit more real, and we can't hide behind the textbooks and going out partying and doing those things that perhaps we engage in as distractions when we almost finished our degree. And what I found for me personally is that's what started to come up for me. Those things started to come to the surface, things aware of that perhaps I've been avoiding up until that point around family. And it was like, okay, I'll ignore it. I can still ignore it. I can still go and do something else. And very much what that took me into then was going, I know what I can do. I can change the world. A lot of men drop into that early age thing. I can change the world. I can do all this. I can fix my problems and everybody else's. And I guess that took me into education, into the realm of working with young people, particularly as what they called at the time disengaged from education. And I found I was really good at working with these young people. And I found myself becoming a teacher. Never actually wanted to be a teacher, but as we know, people say these great things to us and we feel inspired by them and we go, oh, yes, that's me, and I'll go and do it. And of all the subjects on the table, I actually ended up doing ICT. And I realized pretty quickly I wasn't passionate about IT. What I actually was passionate about was the young people. And I was able to kind of go on with this place of ignoring all the other stuff that was going on at the time and focus on this. And I was doing really well in the school I was working in. I was supporting the young people who seemed to be disaffected, helping them get the grades they needed to go to college. But I just didn't feel right in doing that. So I'm always thought, you know what, I'm inevitable. I'm stalling for these young people in regards to me doing what I did. And when I spoke to the assistant head at the time, it became very obvious that these children weren't seen as children, but price tags in regards to the value of what it meant for school. And that again got me thinking about identity and how, some of these people, some of these boys and girls see themselves and how they're shaped in a certain way. And I thought, you know what, I can solve all these problems at home and work by going abroad. I just know if I pack my bags and get a job abroad, it will all go away and it's a new life. But unfortunately, you can sort of see what's happening with this, that a lot of people who have experience of working abroad, when you pack your bags to move abroad, you don't leave your problems behind, you take them with you. And very much that became very evident very quickly when I arrived in Thailand for 2 years. I guess where my journey started. And it was a lot of the partying and socializing and work. Again, I've muddled through all what was going on, what I left behind at home. And I guess it then ramped up even more that avoidance of what my body was trying to indicate to me and stuff, what was going on in my head. I ignored it further. When I was in China, I was in China for 4 years. I arrived as a head of ICT, a lot of responsibility there for young age there, was mid-20s. And then I thought, oh, I know what I can do. I can do more. I became a network manager, so I was in charge of all the IT curriculum for the college. Then I became a head of house. Then I became involved in pastoral care because I was really passionate about the well-being of the young people. There's various challenges that go on in China, particularly around pressure to perform academically, and how that impacts on the mental health of the students. And then from there, I thought, you know what, I'll do a master's degree as well, as if I'm not doing enough already. And I'll continue to party like a rock star. Unfortunately, you can see the pattern what men go through: avoidance, 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 do more, prove more. God doesn't see I'm better than everybody else and all the rest of it. So it wasn't a surprise by 2013 that the wheels started to fall off quite dramatically. And in a sense, that took me to a point when I arrived in South Korea in September 2013, that it was inevitable that the nervous breakdown would come, that the F button would be hit and make sure everything collapsed very, very quickly. I was very fortunate to actually end up back in the UK because of what was going on for me regards my own mental health in a foreign country, not knowing anybody. But for me personally, my mother was a big part of that, coming and bringing me back. That was the easy bit, getting back, by the way. The hard bit was then when I'm here, what am I going to do? And very much when I was looking around at that point in time, I looked at the NHS, and the NHS are doing the best it could at the time, and still now, but it's broken, unfortunately. And when I accessed support from the crisis team, it was very limited in resources. I went on the waiting list for mental health support. By the time it arrived, it was mediocre. It wasn't really helpful. And it was like, you know what? The only person who can deal with this is me. The only person who can make the difference to my life is me. Move through wherever I'm at. And that sort of inner drive, really, that I'm aware we all have, came to light more than ever. That inner knowing, that inner skills, whatever answers, what you want to call it. And that led me to become a NLP master practitioner, more for myself than others. And then that first of that journey of there's got to be a better way of working. And hence, when I brought into 2014, that's when I started in the health and wellbeing sector, working in the various employment roles, but also then journeying in the therapeutic space, building up that toolkit of working one-to-one. And fast forward 10 years, there was all the richness in that experience in 22, as well as this therapeutic toolkit that I'd built up, bringing me to a point now of my 40s where there had been challenges along the way. Challenges along the way of a difficult marriage that ended in divorce, and other situations along that. But all I would say is they have helped bring to the richness of where I landed in 2022 to go, this is what I want to do next. And coming into 22 was moving out of the employment sector, going, you know what, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. I want to go all in. This is where I'm at. This is where the passion is and where I want to make a difference to people's lives. And by that point, I'd had various individuals come up to me, including men, saying if it wasn't for you, I'd have took my own life. If that isn't a calling to continue what I'm doing, I don't know what isn't. And very much with the fortunate nature, happened two things really in August 23. Secured initial funding for my CIC, Community Interest Company, where I deliver wellbeing initiatives within Trafford and East Manchester. But also then arrived in getting to know an individual who does something called a Reset It program based in Canada. I trained with him to become a Reset It specialist, and it added to that richness of the toolkit of there's a different way of working. And it brought all those skills together, what I had coming into this January, to work under that brand. And I was enjoying that journey, but it was all that niggling of, is this really what I want to do? Is this deeper calling here to work with men? Is that where your actual passion is? But it was coming into October this year that drive came deeper and deeper. And I thought, again, you know what? This is the time. This is the time to move into the space where I really want to be with Rewired for Men. And that's that journey that brought it into where I made the decision on my own personal professional journey to not only work with men, but men aged 30 and above. Because for me personally, that's where men at this particular age start to question things around them. They start to realize perhaps the journeys they're in and on, or the relationships they're in, or the messages get from society just don't fit. They don't belong to them. And it starts to really impact on their life and their difficulties. When they look around to access support, it isn't there. And unfortunately, what that can lead into is men, when they start to feel lost and they don't really know who they are, they start to make really difficult decisions where from a place of being unbalanced with their emotions. And I'm sure the people here and people listening to this who are men can relate to those car crash decisions that have happened from the age 30 onwards, where it's not only had a massive impact on you as an individual, but also as people around you. And that could be financial, it could be relationship wise. It could be lots of different things, really. And it doesn't have to be this way. It really doesn't. And there is another way. But what's really interesting in the fact is, although there's a lot of men out there who feel lost and unbalanced, that only 34% of us actually access support. And of that 34%, how many of us actually then follow through in completing that program of whatever is given to us? And I really feel that there are reasons for that. I think, first of all, when a lot of these men access the support, it's very much from a female perspective. I don't mean that disrespect to anybody out there, but it very much is. And men tend to find themselves sat in front of a female, and it can be very difficult to open up. And when men do try and open up, what happens is they find themselves being emotionally triggered by what they're saying, and that can lead to them perhaps getting agitated, so they get labelled as angry men, or they shut down, i.e., so you disengage, or men don't talk. And that's not the case at all. It really, really isn't. That's all part of the pressure that has been put on us, the stories that we internalise and take to be our own. And it's no wonder, unfortunately, there are a lot of men then obviously go on to take their own life or unlikely engage in substances. I've mentioned a few times in here, and whoever knows me, I don't talk about labels of anxiety, depression, and trauma, and this, that, and the other, because I really feel a lot of those are a collection of the physical reactions of the body reacting to the stories that are in the head, the unhelpful stories in the head. What do I mean by unhelpful stories in the head? And again, reflection of Robert being here, and Nick and Samson, whoever else is listening to this afterwards. As a man, we carry these sort of stories that resonate around my own personal experience and professional experience, and certain categories around identity, purpose, and direction. What I mean by identity, who am I? Am I a bank manager, or a husband, or a dad? Or am I all of that, or am I none of that? You know, what is my purpose in my life? Am I actually feeling and making a worthwhile difference to anything and anybody when I wake up in the morning? Or even the direction, am I actually doing a job that I enjoy doing? I'm just doing it because my wife told me to, or my mum told me to, or society told me to. And then that builds into the other stories around, you know, being the family ones, the relationship ones, you know, being a breadwinner of the family, being the man of the house. And if I can't bring that money in, am I a real man? And, you know, real men don't cry or share their problems, or it's like, none of it's true. You know, it's what we've picked up and then internalize into our own experience, believing that's what we are. And again, these are all examples of these pressures that society puts on, and then we internalize and own them as that's what they must be. But unfortunately, as we know, it's not the case. And combined with that, the emotional suppression, what we believe we need to be as men, adds to that difficulty in making those changes, and unfortunately leads to very poor decision making and situations that occur from there, which all highlights into, again, going back to why I do what I do, is in regards to Rewired for Men, you're rewiring the inner stories permanently. There's no need to revisit your past. It's time and cost efficient. It brings you into that space where you can reclaim that control over your lives, where you can find that emotional balance, where you can find that lasting insight and direction into where you want to be. And that nicely takes us into another video, and I'm going to have a pause and see if people have got any comments or questions before we move on. So I'm just going to play the next video. The next video is all about diving a bit deeper into what this program entails and how it can transform your life. So just bear with me.
Tell me, why do you do what you do? What gets you out of bed in the morning? How do you want to be remembered when you are no longer here? Whose lives do you make a real difference to? What is our mission? At Rewired for Men, we are committed to empower 10,000 men over the age of 30 by 2035 to unlock potential, reclaim purpose, and navigate life with resilience. Rewired for Men fosters clarity and emotional freedom with lasting solutions that prevent the irreversible choice of taking their own lives. Inspiring men to rewrite unhelpful narratives and face life's challenges with renewed purpose and strength. Why? Men are 3.5 times more likely to take their own lives compared to women. Men are far less likely to seek help for issues like depression, substance abuse, and life stressors. Only 36% of NHS therapy referrals are for men. Men aged 40 to 49 have the highest risk of taking their own lives in the UK. Men are more likely than women to go missing, sleep rough, become dependent on alcohol, and frequently misuse drugs. What do we do? At Rewired for Men, we empower men aged 30 plus to reshape unhelpful narratives and reclaim control. By rewiring their inner stories, men can achieve lasting insight, direction, and emotional balance.
Any sort of questions or comments so far in regards to what you guys have heard?
I've heard you speak before eloquently, Joel, about not reliving the trauma that people have had and just resuffering that. I don't know if it's something else that you can sort of elaborate on a little bit more. And there is a warning on this. I have another call that I need to go to for 7:15. So hence me being greedy and getting my question in first. So apologies.
No worries. Just say that again. Sorry, the question. I do apologise.
Yeah, no worries. You've talked before. I've listened to you before, and you've talked about not subjecting somebody to going through the same trauma of having to
Yes.
re-describe something
Yes.
that's happened to them in the past. And that's a
Yes.
really powerful hook that people can then be brave enough to say, if I'm not going to be subjected to, then my past isn't necessarily going to always affect my conversation or my presence with another.
Absolutely true, and that's the beauty of one of the aspects of Rewired for Men, where it's like I said, by not having to talk about the story means there's no emotional triggering, there's no physical reaction to that will shut the person down. And very much all the information what I work with is not only about getting to the root cause without having to talk about it, it's going for I guess the key words, key categories. So what I mean by that, Nick, is like, for instance, part of what I do is looks at the family. So it's about actually literally rewiring the association, what the word family is, or mum, dad, brother, sister, just by the words. Don't need to talk about anything else, because the physical body is beautiful for the individual because it indicates to them without having to go into lots of detail and traumatize those with big physical reactions that there's a story playing in the head. And you can get to the root of that and guide the individual to do that without the need to take them out of that experience externally into words. That then leads into obviously all of the problems and distractions and emotional triggering from that degree. And and when you have got to that root cause, it doesn't come back. You know what I mean? It's not a magic eraser, Nick, to erase out that whole thing that happened, whatever that event was, if anything, it just gets processed away into the memory. It doesn't stick out like a sore thumb or a hot coal. But also the beauty of it, Nick, is it's an accumulative effect. So when you rewire one story, there's more than likely other stories that are connected to it, hence what I was saying about before. The only way I can describe it is our brains are like Christmas trees in a way and carrying all these stories. And when someone says something to us or we see something or hear it, the brain lights it like a Christmas tree. So by getting to the fuse of the plug, put it that way, all the lights don't go off like a Christmas tree. So it's that cumulative effect, really, of what happens by getting to that root cause. And then after that, you are not only are you not being triggered, affected, whatever you want to what term you want to use, by your own unhelpful stories because they're not there anymore. You're not impacted by other people's either. And that's the other beauty of it. It's that whole thing where we can't control other people, but we can influence them by what they see in you, what they feel from you, whatever phrase you want to give it from that perspective. And that is very evident in regards to what is modeled then around you. And when you are not playing the stories in your head, you can actually get into the space of where we all have access to, which is our natural state of presence, our mojo, whatever phrase you want to give it. And we've all experienced what I mentioned before, Nick, at those fleeting times of it. What would it be like for that to be a more constant state? Of when you are in that constant state, you are more emotionally regulated. As you say, stuff might still happen around you, and stuff that happens around you might still be bad or whatever, but you'll be coming from a more settled place. You'll be coming from a more regulated space. You'll be able to find solutions a lot quicker. But also in those times as well where there is that place of problem solving, the answers come quickly because you already have them inside of yourself.
Yeah, I take your point that the answers are in there at the moment, but people are relentlessly and punishing themselves with repeated thinking cycles, and it's
Yes,
a horrible life cycle because it doesn't come to an end, and that's the endless thinking that they do. And I
yes,
think a lot of people crave taking themselves out of that thinking, having lucid discrete thoughts that they can
yes,
then do something about, make them boundaried and do something with them rather than this relentless torment.
yeah. And the irony of it is as well, Nick, in regards to that torment, the only person who's tormenting the individual is themselves. Do you know what I mean? And it's the person who created it, but it's also the person who can rewire it and change it.
Mm,
You
mm.
know what I mean? The power is within the beholder, isn't it? From that degree, and and very much that's what Rewired for Men does. It's not, without going too far out there. It's not just this dimension of the physicality of it. We are as individuals made up of mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual, whichever term you want to give that, it's entirely up to you. So it's not just one part where Rewire for Men works with. It's the whole thing of what makes each of us who we are from that degree.
Yeah, and I'll make one last point before I give the floor to others.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you
of
you
course.
you talk about the physical, the mental, the spiritual, and so on. The number of times I talk with people and they talk through a problem, and you can tell it's relentless. But then I try and calm them sufficient to say, where is it? Can you point to it? Do you ever see it ever again? And they don't,
Yes,
which goes exactly to your point. It's from here up. It's within us, it's not around us. And
yes,
there's two ways of describing that. One is the conventional spelling of it's out there in the universe. Well, it isn't. It's out there in the
yeah,
universe.
yeah.
And therefore, that's where the concentration needs to be. Anyway, I will give the floor to others because I've rather hogged it.
No, it's absolutely fine, Nick. I think they're very useful comments, and by all means, leave when you need to leave. And this what it's about. It's the input of arriving um, at that place with that. So I really appreciate that, Nick. Thank you very much. And sort of in regards to I guess that sort of nicely segues into, I guess, giving a brief flavour, really, in regards to where I've landed at, which is where another point of the beauty of Rewired for Men comes in, is time and cost efficient. As men, we do, we have busy lives, and I use the word busy in brackets, because everybody's different from that degree. So Rewired for Men has been put together in a program that is time efficient. And it's time efficient from the perspective wherever you are now to reach what Rewired for Men will allow for every man who takes part in it in overall a 4-hour program. And the 4-hour program is made up of two 90-minute sessions and one 60-minute session. And again, I've kind of touched a little bit on how this sort of overall sort of idea of Rewired for Men works. So the first session is really get an idea of what is the program and condition state. What is that? Well, a lot of people go around and think it's normal to be in a state of fight or flight all the time, or stress or whatever, and that's part of being life. And it's really interesting. Somebody said the other day was, part of being ADHD is you're going to have burnout, and that's just life. It's like, well, no, it's not. It's not life at all, and neither is ADHD, and that's a different story as well. And again, that's that power of those stories that we tell ourselves. So our first session is really starting to become aware of this normal state and the state of presence. What I've talked about, state of awareness, whichever word you want to give it, and really starting to drill into the senses and the family-based narratives that we carry. Session 2 grows on that more, starting to really get into what impacts a lot of men, which is around these stories of limiting beliefs around finances, relationships, and general well-being. And then the third session generally then goes into how are we going to take that forwards in regards to applying that skill every day, picking up other tools to go along that in regards to managing potential emotional triggers that may still come up in regards to new events that we experience in our life. If anything, the very much essence of Rewired for Men is it's an action-orientated approach that achieves results without requiring men to speak about the past. And more importantly, I've made it as practical as possible to bring around that practical transformation and emotional freedom. So I think where that sort of takes me to is just give a quick whistle-stop tour, as it were, around the website. And I'll move very quickly through it because I'm aware people can obviously look at this afterwards. But again, I'm just working you through a journey of what that looks like from that degree. So just give me a minute just to share the screen again. Okay. So in regards to the website, it's really like creating an environment that is welcoming for men, but also speaking to men around where they're at this moment in time. And a lot of what I've structured the website around is from my own personal professional experience of working with men over the period of time that I've worked with them over 10 years. And a lot of this here is what I hear a lot from men. You know what I mean? Are you struggling to recognize yourself under the weight of other expectations of society's relentless messages? This happens all the time from that degree. A lot of men feel stuck in a job or relationship that feels like a cage. They feel trapped. They can't get out of it because they're used to a certain way of being or lifestyle, or what would their friends say about them? Or they find themselves caught in that cycle of decisions you regret. A lot of what was being said there before is absolutely true in regards to that. The importance of what Nick was saying, how men are trapped into that constant cycle. And a lot of that is your emotions feel difficult to manage. As it says there, if you're a man out there and you can really resonate with one of those statements or questions, it's time to do things differently. There is a way forwards, and that's what Rewired for Men can help in unlocking meaningful change so you can redefine your life. If anything, is this statement which stands out for me that I live by each and every day. Greatness isn't a matter of fate. It's forged in the stories we live by. You can start rewriting yours today and step into the life you were meant to lead. If that doesn't capture what the essence of what it is about and what a lot of men want to be and do, I don't know what doesn't from that perspective. We've seen the video on there already, and again, a bit more about why this program can change your life and will by engaging in it. And there's an opportunity there to download the brochure and some really great feedback from individuals who have been part of the journey so far. About Rewired for Men, I've talked a bit about my journey already, but more importantly about what my values are, my vision and mission. For men out there who are serial entrepreneurs, it's really important to be clear with this. Why are your values? How do you show up each day? What's your vision, mission statement? What's your vision? Why I predominantly work with men are based on the things that I've already shared, that are very close to my heart, and I'm sure to other men out there as well from that degree. This bit here is about you, as in the men who are on the call tonight, but also the men who watch this and visit the website. It gives more information about what I mean by a story and why I don't talk about things like anxiety and depression and trauma, because they're all stories. They're all stories that we carry to try and find meaning, but they're unhelpful stories. They don't help us overall. And this leads into the unhelpful stories of what we find ourselves believing what we are or who we are, which is none of these. And on here, you've got information about the services that I do. I've talked a bit about the program already, the Rewired for Men program. More information is here. And when some men have been through the program, no one can predict the future, what happens to us. So there's always the option, if men feel that they need to, after they've been through the program, to come back and do a 60-minute session. It's a choice with regards to that. And obviously, what we're part of here now is not only the launch of Rewired for Men, but there'll be a future development going forwards to do a monthly Rewired for Men online event, focus around particular themes, which are open discussion, where men can turn up to an environment where they feel safe and be able to listen to and share where they're at the moment in time. So watch this space for more information in regards to that. And if anything, what that leads me into, before we get into a bit of a demonstration, is We Are Real Men, a video that I want to share with you, which again speaks volumes around distilling or dispelling some of the stories right here, right now, that are put onto us by society. So just give me a minute to share the screen.
We hear a lot in society. What makes a real man? Well, at Rewired for Men, we believe it's not about toughness. It's about vulnerability and being unafraid to express our emotions. Real men take responsibility for our actions, own our mistakes, and learn from them. We are survivors of rape, domestic abuse, and violence. As men, we stand firm, never compromising our values for convenience or short-term gains. Men can be humble, willing to learn, ready to listen, and strong enough to admit when they're wrong. We need time to reflect, recover, and reassess. It hurts when told to man up. We reject that. Men can demonstrate self-control without being governed by impulse. And when it matters most, we're there, reliable and steady. We reject toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. We are real men.
Any comments or questions, Robert or Samson? Doesn't have to be, it's entirely up to you before we move into the next bit.
Well, well done to you, Joe. Because I'm a believer in what you're doing, and to be quite honest with you, I think this couldn't come at a better time, really. I'm probably the youngest on this call. You know that, Joe. Maybe I should show my face to Robert so he could get a quick one. Sorry, I'm still actually cooking. That's what I so this is me, and
Hi.
hi, and I also the thing is because this has been recorded, I won't go into specifics, but I was just because I do a bit of prison ministry, and I was just at the prison, one of the prisons in this country, HMP to be precise. The prison is that
Mhm.
level grade one, and I had the opportunity to have conversations with men like myself. I call them brothers. You know, when you're outside, you never really appreciate freedom. You have a conversation with someone, and then you find out
Yeah.
that they are there for the minimal things that you overlook. And many of these people, the thing there is when they are in there, it's like a confined environment. So it's not really a problem, you understand. But when they get out again, it's being integrated into the world, into the
Mm.
community, into the society, that stigma. And a lot of them never really outlive the trauma, if you get what I mean. So that's the thing. And trust me, even while they are there, they don't want to talk about it, but they want a way, they want an escape from it, if that makes sense. So I think a program like this, I'm a very spiritual person, really. I believe in Jesus Christ, and I speak to people, but to be quite practical, before you speak to someone about that, you have to understand their mental capability, if that makes sense. And I think
Mm.
a program like what you are doing right now would be really helpful for the society. And I thank you for that. I hope it gets into the right hands to help. I mean,
Yeah.
magnify it, because a lot of people and even from a personal view, I've got my own traumas myself that I don't speak about, but I've I've had a spiritual upliftment. That's the word. I've had a spiritual upliftment because I've gone through dark times myself, and there are times that I don't want to talk about. But by the help of my connection, the spiritual connection I had, I was able to live a better life from that. And that's one of my motivations when I go into the prisons, when I go to speak to them. I I maybe not necessarily understand what they are going through, but I'm able to empathize with them. And that's the thing. A lot of young brothers in there. I mean, my first opinion, or that, well, my first perspective really before going into the prison was it was going to be a lot of black brothers like me. But to my greatest surprise, it was. I mean, it was transcended across race, across age.
Mm.
I mean, you see young people, young white men. You think yourself, well, what's even happening right now? So the society really needs a grip on men right now, and we're losing it because there are a lot of programs for young women, for adolescent women, adolescent girls, and stuff like that. But no one really looks into what the young men are going through, and that particular word, "you've got to man up," it's been used. I mean, there
Mm.
are narratives like that are passed down to the younger generations, and I feel if you could come into the mainstream, I mean, you could even come up and form a team. I don't mind to volunteer. I mean, they just to be able to, because there are a lot of young people that just need. It's like they're spiraling down. It's like a free fall. So they need someone to just get hold of them, and they don't want to talk about it. And for me, when I have conversations with brothers in there, I don't even want them to talk about it. I just want to meet them at the point where they are and see how we can move from there on. Uh, I mean, flip the switch. That's the word I use sometimes. So thank you for that. That's just a quick one. Sorry, I need to get back to my cooking, but I'm all attentive, and I'm all with you. Nice to meet you, Robert.
Nice to see you.
I appreciate the comment, Samson. And again, it
You're
echoes a
welcome.
lot of what I've been talking about, where that's the classic one-liner that survives, along with man up, what a load of garbage that is. But a lot of men are strongly influenced by that, with the other one where men don't talk, which is absolute rubbish as well. You know, men do talk, and you know, from my personal professional experience, and from women as well, that given the right environment for a woman as it is for a man will open up and a man will talk, and a man will connect at a deeper level with their emotions and feelings, whatever words you want to get to, more so than what some women will. So again, these are classic unhelpful stories, not only that we take on as being our own as well and live by them, society then dumps them on top as well. And you know, and again, it's what we've been saying about Rewired for Men. It's not only about an individual rewiring the stories in their own heads. It's then what they can then take out and influence other people around them, and then how that can grow and spread from there is, you know, absolutely imperative. And I guess, you know, with that sort of leads us nicely. And I'm aware of time, so I'm going to put bits out here, a little bits out here and there, really. That the idea of rewinding, again, to give you a little taster, is we all have the ability to shift where we are at in any particular moment in time, if only if we're willing to give ourselves a chance. And I guess a demonstration of that, I'm going to ask Robert to do it, and obviously Samson's cooking. But anybody else who is listening to this is bring to mind something that is causing mild irritation. You know, something that you've experienced today or yesterday. Just bring that mild irritation to mind in the head, that story, whatever it is, what somebody said or what you saw or what you heard, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's mild irritation. And as you start to play that in your head, you'll start to notice there's a physical reaction of some degree coming up in the body. And again, I'm not asking people to talk about it within this call, but it's just a reflective piece. And that physical reaction may be coming up as perhaps a niggly feeling overall, or you might feel it in the chest or the heart or in your stomach or somewhere like that. And I'm not going to ask you to explain that, because obviously this is recorded, it's going out everywhere, but it's more of going along with the experience from it in regards to yourself and Samson, and generally whoever is obviously listening to this. And the more you'll find as that story plays in your head, the reaction in the body will be there. And its question is, what's basically happening is the story you're playing in your head isn't a helpful one, and your physical body is reacting to it. It'll say, please stop playing that rubbish in your head because it's impacting on the body. And when you're aware of that, you start to actually notice how a lot of the time you're up here in your head in regards to what Nick was saying, and they've been actually down in the body. So a lot of people go back in their around day life having this irritation in the head and don't realize what's actually going on in the body. So again, just bring that irritation to mind, what's in of an impact. Notice what you're feeling it in the body. Your body's telling you where it is. Okay? And this is how quick it can be, just a shift of state, if you want to put it that way. And then again, giving a very brief overview here. And what I want you to do, Robert, Samson, and whoever else is listening out there, is just start to take a nice breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let's take a nice breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Bring a colour to mind, a neutral colour that you have no association with. It could be a beige or it could be a green, whatever it is, just a neutral colour. Is that making sense, Robert? Yeah? Okay. And as you're breathing it in through your nose and out through your mouth, fill your head with that neutral colour. Could be a colour of an object or whatever it might be, just fill your head with that neutral colour. And as you're doing that as well, just tap yourself on the shoulders. You're tapping yourself on your shoulders like that as you're breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, filling your head with a neutral colour. And then you stop doing that for me. Just come back into the room. And what I want you to do now is just bring to mind that irritation you were thinking about before. And do you notice any changes occurred in regards to where it is? That's how quick a shift can be from one to another. So it's giving you and feeding you what that would be like to engage in the Rewired for Men process, to really get down to the root cause and learn other beautiful things to go along with that technique that can empower you to move forwards from that degree. Any questions, Robert or Samson, or comments?
No, that's really nice and clear. I was reflecting earlier when you, Nick, and obviously now Samson speaking. These are people I wish I'd met a long time ago. Obviously, I'm a lot older than 30, a lot older than Samson. Um, um, and this idea, but actually for me, the one thing that ended up working for me was EMDR. So
Yes,
this immediately, and obviously the distraction element and how it makes the brain work a little bit functioning better.
absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. What I will say, by the way, there is more to it than what I've just done there. It's just
Yeah.
giving you a little bit of flavour of
Don't
how.
worry, I'm well aware that was a mild flavour.
A mild flavour of in regards to, you know, where it's at, and obviously, like Robert said, is, you know, bringing that in as well. If anything, what that sort of leads into is just how the idea, you know, reinforcing that idea that even a small practical shift can lead to significant transformation. Even doing that little mild taste of what Rewired for Men is, you can feel that difference already. And if anything, where that sort of leads us into really is the power really of testimonials in regards to what a few people have said about engaging in the Rewired for Men program, and I just want to share some of those with you. And again, I'm not going to read them all out. They're all on they're all on the website, but it just gives a flavour of where things are at. You know, this says it all really in regards to people being through the program. You know, Joel is a passionate and caring individual who really enjoys helping people. His dedication to supporting people with their mental health well-being is outstanding. You know, all these are real people. Joel is a leader in his field. His groundbreaking work is life-changing. And as it becomes more widely recognised, we'll definitely start to change the face of the workplace, individual mental health management, and so on. And the last one, you know, Joel has a solid understanding of the science behind how to solve negative thought patterns. His dedication to helping people is impressive. And that just gives a flavour of why I do what I do and actually deliver what I do from that degree. And more importantly, you know, these results are tangible results about bringing a man into a place of emotional clarity, improved relationships, and that sense of authentic living. It's an overused word in society, but it's an actual place where it can be brought to when you step more into that state of presence of what Directions for Men brings. If anything, now it's over to you guys, Robert and Samson. Any last sort of comments or questions you'd like to make, or anything around those degree?
Well, I'm looking forward to connecting with you in January and speaking further then. I think there's so much to share here between the two of us, and I'm really excited by what you're moving into. I think it's amazing.
I really appreciate it, Robert. And for people out there, you know, please book a virtual coffee.
Yeah.
Speak more to me about what I do. I really want to make that difference to the lives of you, but also the other men around me. And I'm always up for working in that way. So whoever you are out there, thank you for obviously listening to this. And I really look forward to engaging more with you.